Thank you very much.
Wow. That was Rashida Tlaib at a speech held in Detroit by then presidential candidate Donald Trump. Joining us now, the winner of Tuesday's Democratic primary race in Michigan's 13th Congressional District, Rashida Tlaib. She is poised to become the first Muslim woman ever elected to Congress. And thank you for being on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the easy question, but I have to ask it because I'm loving the growing numbers of women stepping up and running. Why are you running?
You know, look, I'm really tired of being outside of the ring, especially now during a time in our country. I think a lot of us are going through what I really believe is a troubling time in history where we don't feel like we belong or that we feel like we're being left behind, no matter your background. I think a lot of us in the 13th Congressional District want to be able to have equal access to thrive, and that's what I ran on, and that's why I felt this need to run and to really fight back for all the families that are my neighbors, that are the people that you know, helped raise me in the community, and I'm really excited for the opportunity to actually be able to be a voice for all of them.
Zainab, jump in. Zainab Salbi has a question for you.
Well, Rashida, first, congratulations for winning. My question for you is, you're a woman of color, you're of you're Muslim, you are of immigrant origin, your parents are immigrants, and you just won. How are you going to speak to some of the white Americans who are scared? Who are scared of they're going to be a minority, who are scared that they're of people of color, of immigrants. How are you going to reach out to them and make sure that they're actually on board with you and they see you as an ally?
Absolutely. You know, Zainab, it has to be through action. It can't just be through words. And so for me, my congressional district it's predominantly African-American and white. And many of them supported me primarily because of my history in the Michigan legislature and what I stood up for. And many of them are going to have that direct human contact with me and the work that I'm going to do. And I mean, throughout the district, I'm going to create neighborhood service centers where getting people through everyday issues is going to go hand in hand with the legislative work that I do. So it has to be through actions, and they're going to be able to proudly say, yes, she represents my values, she represents what I'm about. And you know, so many of us want to only be able to label people. Oh, she's a child of immigrants, she's Palestinian, she's Arab, she's a woman. But for many of them, I'm a girl that grew up in Wayne County just like them. And many of them really relate to the fact of my struggles as a young mom with the public school system, growing up again in Detroit with all of the different issues with poverty and challenges that we face every single day. So it's going to be through action, and they're going to be able to be spoiled by me, and they're going to forget that I may not look like them, but I think me having the similar challenges and me having their backs is what I think they're going to remember and why they're going to be able to continue to support me.
Fair enough. And then yet we have a president who's working on divisive politics in this country. You know, it's about us and them, and fear is a major role in that. How are you going to address that? How, you know, in terms of divisiveness, in terms of fear of Muslims, in terms of, how, you know, beyond action, how are you addressing that sentimentally, even in your own words?
No, I mean, look, our country is not divided. I think a lot of people really truly believe that. I truly believe we're disconnected. So I stood up when President Trump called Mexicans rapists. I stood up and said that's absolutely the most un-American thing he could have said. It's absolutely unfair. I've stood up for my African-American neighbors when police brutality is still #1 issues. You know, Black Lives Matter to me is something that I stand up for, because as an American, we all should be standing up for. We are just disconnected. That is the problem with our country, and that disconnection is why, you know, President Trump and all the different people that are surrounding him are able to be loud and be able to continue to divide us, is because we're not talking to each other. And I'm hoping to be able to build a lot of that connection so that people can see just how beautiful our country is and will continue to be able to be.
It's a beautiful country indeed.
Hey there, it's Jonathan Lemire. We just saw the video footage of the August 2016 Donald Trump speech, which you were thrown out of. Walk us through that moment. What were you protesting? What were you trying to communicate there? And can any kind of through line be drawn from that day to what happened this week with you now running for office?
I mean, you should know that moment. It wasn't just me. It was 12 other women that were with me that day. Every 2 minutes, he was asked a question. This was the first time ever that the Detroit Economic Club didn't allow us to ask questions. He was a candidate that wanted to run for president of the United States. People don't always ask me, well, what did you say? Well, I asked him, have you ever read the U.S. Constitution? It was important to me because he was pushing for the Muslim ban. He was pushing for things that I felt like was against the core values of our country and against the essence of the U.S. Constitution. And all of us, as I stood there, you know, I did it as a former Michigan State representative, and when a lot of the women knew I was coming, they felt a sense of like, okay, if Rashida can do it, I can do it. And so I wanted to help elevate their voices and stand up. And I'm proud of that moment because it was the most American thing I ever could have done to push back on that rhetoric. He was spewing out so much of information, but not really getting to the core issues that were important to me and the other women that were in that room.
Hey, hi, Sam Stein here. I think to Mika's point about women running for office, the man you will likely replace, Representative John Conyers, was ousted in part because he was accused of being a serial sexual harasser of people in his office. And he denies it, of course, but that was the context of him leaving office. So I'm not asking you to speak specifically to his case, but in general, how much do you think this Me Too movement has impacted both people like you deciding to run, but also voter sentiment about what type of public officials they want holding public office?
Well, I think, you know, it's really important to know, you know, Congressman Conyers was pretty courageous. One of the things you should know about him is he voted against the Iraq War when it was unpopular to. He voted against the Patriot Act, one of very few at that time, and he pushed back on those things. We never had to check him on his votes. Obviously, the Me Too movement is continued to be something that's very close to me because I'm a victim of sexual harassment. I remember that moment of not really understanding what just happened. It was my first job out of college. I can tell you that there are people in leadership, not only in Congress, but in companies all across the country in different areas of the sector of business, film, you name it, that are silent, that are not speaking up and pushing back against the environment that is very toxic and unfair for women. And I'm really somebody that I hope to bring a voice to, and I know that for us women, we wait to be needed. We wait till, you know, I call it the bat signal.
That's correct.
Trump was so much the bat signal for us, like, women, we got to push forward. You know, people laugh at me when I say clear out the room, boys. It's time for us. Because I truly believe, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat woman, if you put us in a room to deal with and fix the problem of the gun crisis, we probably do it in a few hours because we're so much more different in our lens and the things that we look at. We're so much more courageous when it comes to those kinds of issues that are very personal to us. And I'm really hoping that we really fill the halls of Congress with, you know, moms like me, with people that are so much more focused because we have so much more at stake when we're not in the room.
And we have so much to offer. You know, you touch on so many points that I work, Rashida, every day to express to the Know Your Value community. And I met a woman running for Congress yesterday who is stepping up for many of the same reasons. And women may be reticent to step up, but when we do, we are so frustrated, and we have waited so long for our moment that we're like, damn it. We're doing it. Move over. Rashida Tlaib, right. Thank you. You're a politician and attorney. You have 2 sons, and you are the daughter of Palestinian immigrants, the eldest of 14 children. You are the beautiful story of America, and we should be reminded of that every day. Thank you. Still ahead, 3 weeks after the one-on-one meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, the U.S. announces new sanctions on Russia over the poisoning of a former spy in the U.K. Morning Joe will be right back.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.